Hey everybody, it's Steve Lee, and I'm here today to talk to you about hosting. And more specifically, we're going to be comparing hosting speeds between an economy host like Siteground and a premium host like WPEngine. So, hopping right into it, I've got our test subjects here. I made a single page website. This one here, traferium.com, is the website hosted on WPEngine. And then the this one over here, divigrow.com, is hosted on SiteGround. And I just migrated that today. I made a perfect copy of this single page website for and migrated it over to SiteGround just to do this very test. Now, a little bit about this page. It's a single page website. It's got a few anchor links at the top here that take us further down the page. It has a video embedded on it, a Vimeo video, and it has down at the bottom here a HubSpot form that's pasted in with a short code and a little bit of JavaScript. So again, identical pages. The only thing that's different between these pages is the hosting. So you're probably wondering, what's the difference between the two? We did some GT metrics reports on the two of them, and the SiteGround page loaded in 2.8 seconds, and it's got some pretty colorful numbers up here, which we'll maybe dig into in a little bit. The WPEngine page, it looks phenomenal here. You don't need to know what a lot of these things even mean to know that it's probably looking pretty good with all the green. So let's talk about a little bit about what's going on here. On the over on the summary tab, you can see here, this is the SiteGround page. Just to be clear, the time to first byte is really indicative of the web host, and it's 384 milliseconds. And you can see on the WPEngine site that is essentially cut in half, 169 milliseconds. And the story is true if you go over to the waterfall and look at every asset that's loaded, every request for that page. It's a day and night difference between the SiteGround page and the WPEngine page. So it's simple to say that the premium host is just faster. There's no two ways around that. That's not an arguable thing. We're dealing with a single page website. It's a perfect copy of itself that was just created today. And there's no extra fluff here. This has exactly one plugin on it, and no extra code. There isn't a bunch of CSS hiding on the style sheet or anything like that. It's really just as black and white as this. So it's really fair to say for a lot of sites that people are building these days, they're using a lot more plugins than just one. I mean, I've seen 20 and 30 plugins on a site. Actually, when we redesigned this Traferium site, it was an Elementor build, and it had 29 or 30 plugins to make this single page. And guys, that's just not good practice. So that's kind of a topic for another day. But it's really fair to say that if you start adding more plugins to a website, it's gonna slow it down more. So we've got a nice, clean, stripped down comparison of these two pages, and I just noticed something that on the migration, it made every time there is a apostrophe, it made it a question mark. And that's really silly. And there's one down there too. That's weird. I wonder why that happens. Again, story for another time. Now let's get into the cost difference between an economy host and a premium one. So Siteground, and I just opened an account with them today. It was actually a really smooth process. I enjoyed opening the account. It was really smooth. Downloading the migration plugin, changing the name servers from GoDaddy to Siteground. That was all really smooth. Siteground has their processes down really good. I opened up a Grow Big account, and just for one reason, I was going to do a startup just to keep the cost down. But the Grow Big account is when you start getting speed boosting caching. Apparently, it's throttled down from the some of the higher level stuff that they have on their Go Geek plan. But I want it to at least have the server side caching because that aligns more with WPEngine and what they include in all of their plans, which is the SSL, server side caching, server side security. So just for the sake of keeping things as apples to apples, I went with the Grow Big account and migrated this site over. So it is $9.99 a month, which is really appealing. That's an easy sell to a lot of people, and that's maybe why it's recommended so much on on Facebook groups. There's no shortage. If you go in, I typed in Divi and slow. There's no shortage of people complaining about slow websites or their hosts or Divi being slow, and people recommend Siteground all the time. And I'm just not sure why when I'm looking at this, apples to apples comparison. But regardless, here we are at $9.99 a month as a special price for the first year. After that, it goes up to $24.99, which is that's a good bit more. We're going up a good bit there, more than twice the amount. So looking at the alternative here in a premium host, WPEngine, and this is with a discount code applied, mind you, their special price is $22.50 a month, which is much more than $9.99 a month. And maybe that simple fact alone is why Siteground is recommended so much more. But look at what the final price is. After the first year, you're paying $24.99 a month. On WPEngine, you're also paying $25 a month. You're saving a couple pennies, for every year after that. 12 cents, I guess it would be. And thinking of it logically, let's think long term, which is how you should be thinking for yourself, and it's how you should be thinking for your clients. It's a difference of $150 for that very first year, 42 cents a day. And then every year after that, it's going to be the same exact price, whether you're going with the cheap host or the expensive one. You're going to end up at the expensive price after that first year. And the way you should be thinking about it is, what does this look like in 5 years, or what does this look like in 10 years? Because that's what business owners are thinking. They're not so much thinking about that monthly expense. They're thinking about the annual one, and what does this look like 5 years from now? What's my total cost of ownership? And the total cost of ownership for hosting for 5 years is a difference between $1,470 and $1,320. It's not much. It's $150. And start compounding that with how many visitors they get over the course of a month or a year, over 5 years. Every single visitor that visits the webpage is getting that crappy experience, the slow load time, and that's easy to track. It's easy to test, and there are good stats out there that say that for every second of loading time that a website takes, you lose 20% of your conversion rate. So that's the kind of things that you should be presenting to to clients when you're trying to get a new client. And if you offer multiple hosting plans, if you offer, say, a cheap one and an expensive one, that's the conversation you should be having. This is what this is going to cost you 5 years from now, and this is the price that you pay for it. So take whatever their average sale is, and multiply that by how many sales they get over the course of 5 years, and then either add or subtract 20% from that, depending on what kind of hosting they're using. And those are big dollar signs that business owners care about. And you should care about it too. You should want what's best for your client. You should be advocating for them and giving them the best solution, or the best possibility of having success with their web presence. So I think that the choice is pretty obvious here. There's a huge difference between wanting to save that $150 for the first year versus biting the bullet and going with the big premium host from the get-go, getting that super speed, getting that super support, and giving your clients the best chance of success every step of the way. So this one test, I stuck with Siteground because they're the ones that I see recommended the most on all of the Facebook forums and groups, and I completely ignored anything that had to do with GoDaddy or anything owned by EIG, like Name Hero, Namecheap, Bluehost, all that kind of stuff. I ignored it because they're just worse. Siteground, I can at least, with good conscience, recommend that you're going to get good service and you're going to get a quality product without, predatory business practices like a lot of those other ones, especially the EIG-owned hosting companies. Speaking of which, I went ahead and I pulled up a list here. For those that don't know, EIG owns over 80 different hosting companies. TwoSlick, Berry, Bizland, Domain.com, DomainHost, Fast Domain, HostGator. These are all the same exact company owned by EIG, and their service is awful. Their support is awful. They're very predatory. They're big into upselling and trying to trap you. They'll charge you an arm and a leg if you accidentally let your domain expire. It is awful every single way that you look at it, and the speeds are way worse than even Siteground. So with Siteground, I can at least with good conscience recommend them for your bare bones. Say you had a buddy, brand new startup, has no extra cash flow and just needs a web presence to start doing a little local advertising or something like that. Maybe Siteground's your solution for that. On the startup plan, $6.99 a month, $15 a month after that. It's a single website. Includes the SSL and the backups. This is decent for your very bare bones stuff, but guys, don't be attracting that kind of client for, if you're a freelancer or a startup agency or you're trying to scale and make this a living of your own. Don't try to attract those kind of clients. Go for ones that are established and, are maybe stuck in 5 or 10 years in the past with their websites, and present to them a good holistic solution that's going to take them into, the 2020s and talk about long-term, talk about what it costs, over the course of 5 years or 10 years, and talk about marketing and SEO. Like you've got to build a brand for yourself and actually scale, and you should be charging accordingly. Far too often people are undercharging. They're building whole websites for, I saw a thread the other day, people were building e-commerce websites for $1,000 or $1,500. And guys, that's just not sustainable. That's a ton of work. That's a ton of man hours for very, very little pay. And you can't pay yourself a good living that way. You can't pay for insurance. You can't pay for employees or for outsourcing or anything like that. That's so little. So you've got to think long-term, think scaling, and charge accordingly. Now, those business practices, they're kind of a story for the other day. I try to not make these videos go beyond 10 minutes, and we're already at 14. So I'm going to cut myself off there. If you guys have any questions about different hosting, feel free to drop them in the comments below, or head on over to the Facebook pages. Create a post there. There's Divi Web Designers. I highly recommend anything by Josh Hall. Whether it be this Facebook group or courses, they've always been fantastic. And Josh, he's in the game, and he's a good guy. And this Facebook group is a great community that can guide you in the right direction most of the time. Also, the Divi CSS Share Facebook page, which I run, is good for sharing any kind of tips or tricks, tutorials about how to take your website game up to the next level. Feel free to hit us up there. And finally, I don't usually do this, but please, if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to the videos. YouTube tells me that 92% of you are not subscribed, and we've got to work with the YouTube algorithm here. So like and subscribe to the videos if you want to see more of this kind of content. I've included links down in the description for both Siteground and WPEngine. They're affiliate links, guys. If they help you, they help me, and I really appreciate that. If you're not into that kind of thing, that's cool too, and thanks for checking out the video. Take care and have a great night. Bye-bye.